Hey, Greg here, and this is another OP-1 tutorial.
In this tutorial, I'm going to be taking you through the different synthesizer parameters and the different pages of the synthesizer. It's not going to be a tutorial on one specific synth engine, but just show you how to generally change your sound and start making your own patches. In future videos, I'm going to do tutorials on each specific synthesizer engine, so look forward to those in the future. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you learned something, I would appreciate it if you consider subscribing. I'm making 1 or 2 videos a week. So yeah, let's get started. So this tutorial might be a little bit basic, but I'm just going to go over everything. So the blue squiggly line here is how you get to your synthesizer. There's a bunch of synth engines in the OP-1. You get to them by pressing Shift and then any of these keys here, and you can search through them with the dial, the blue dial to change which engine or folder for your saved samples, and the green dial will change which preset. So there's a lot of good presets in here from Teenage Engineering. But what I'm going to do today is show you kind of how to make your own patches. I'm not going to go through the specifics of the synth engine, but rather I'm going to bring you through the pages of the synthesizer and show you how to edit the parameters. So the first page adjusts your synth parameters. Your second page adjusts your envelope. Your third page is your effects. So you get one effect per synthesizer patch, and you can also apply system-wide effects, and so you can have 2 effects effectively on your synthesizer if you want. And your fourth page is the LFO. The second page also has an alternative page to it, so if you press Shift while you're in 2, it'll come up with the play modes as well as portamento, which otherwise is known as glide. And I'll go through this step by step later. So for now, I'm going to leave the synth in poly mode, portamento off. I have no effects on, no LFO, and my envelope is simple, like an on-off switch essentially. So if I press the key, it plays a sound. When I let go, it stops. So first page is your synth engine, and your synth engine is going to drive the overall sound. There's a lot of ways you can affect it with the following pages, but you've got your blue, green, white, and orange knobs. These knobs adjust your parameters regardless what page you're in, and they're color-coded to the parameters. So you can see there's kind of 4 little dials up here, and they're color-coded to the knobs. And rather than fighting against the inherent nature of the OP-1 and trying to understand technically what each knob is doing, in this tutorial, I want to encourage just kind of happy accidents. In further tutorials, I'm going to detail each synth engine and what each knob does, but for this purpose, you could be in any synth engine and adjust the parameters with these knobs until you like what you hear. Okay, so I kind of like how this sounds for now. So that's all there is really for the first page. It's just you adjust your bass sound. The second page is your envelope. In an envelope, there are 4 parameters that you can adjust. The attack, which is how quickly the sound begins. So for instance, this is a quick attack, and this would be a slow attack. So you can hear how the sound kind of gradually goes into it. The OP-1 does a good job of visualizing this. Your second knob is your decay. So your decay is how long it takes your sound to get from the peak to its sustained sound. So You got attack, decay, sustain, and release. In the second page, which is your envelope, you have access to your attack, your decay, your sustain, and your release. These shape how your sound progresses when you press a key, essentially. Your attack is how kind of quick the start of your sound is. So it can either gradually go into your sound or it can instantly be loud and out there. So you can hear this is a quick attack, whereas this would be a slow attack. You see how it takes some time to get some volume on it. Your decay is how long it takes to get from the peak of your attack. So you can kind of see there to your sustain. So it adjusts how much time there is from the peak until your sustain. And the sustain is the level that the note sustains at. So what that means is, let's say if I have it up here and I hold the note, it is going to stay the same volume the whole time. If I adjust the sustain down, you can already hear the immediate effect it has on the volume while I'm holding a note. That's the attack. It's a quick attack. It's a long decay, and it's a low sustain. So you're going to be able to hear the effect of that. See how it is immediately loud, then it gets quieter. So that's how decay works. And sustain, you also can hear that being adjusted if I turn it up or down. And then your last parameter is the release. So the release is how long after you let go of the key that the sound still plays out. Let's say I have my sound, so I have full sustain, so it's going to be the same volume. And right now I have a very quick release. The second I lift the key, the sound stops. If I change the release, you can see how long it takes to go down. And this is also visualized very well in the OP-1. So that's a very long release. I actually think that the ADSR, the attack, decay, sustain, and release, is the greatest way of shaping your sound, because you can take a lot of other synth engines or whatever and you can make things that are going to create the right mood that you want. So if you want to play a lead, you might want some quick attack, but a pad would have a very long attack and a long release. So right now I could turn this into a pad just by doing that. Now that you know how ADSR works, I'm going to show you the shift page of the envelope. So this gives you play mode and portamento. There are 4 play modes in the OP-1 adjusted with the blue dial. You've got poly, which means you can play more than one note at a time. So you can play chords. You've got mono, which only allows one at a time. Mono restarts your envelope and your synth engine on each key you press. Whereas if I put it in legato, it'll maintain it. And it maintains it as long as you don't fully let go of the key. The last mode is unison. Unison is pretty much a mode where it combines all of the voices of a polyphonic synthesizer to be playing at the same time. So I'll just show you what that sounds like, and you can do this to any synth engine, of course. So you can kind of hear it gives a little bit of a fatter sound, especially if I go down octaves. And it kind of sounds like it's in phase a little bit. The next dial is the green dial, adjusts your portamento. So if I have no portamento and I press this note and then this note, it instantly will play the correct note. If I add a lot of portamento, let's just max it out. See, it needs to glide up to the note. So whatever note you've played, it takes time to go to the next one. You can adjust the amounts of this. So with only 10, it's not that noticeable. It's a little more noticeable. So then the next page is your effect. So to turn your effect on, you just press 3 on and off. And to change which effect you want, you press shift and then go to the effect. For this, I'm just going to go to a reverb. And in your effect, your adjustments, again, are color-coded. So T is like the tightness of your reverb. The red one is the amount. The green one is the amount of turns of the spring. And then the white is the dampness. So you can kind of see it tighten. It dampens the... Basically seems like it kind of cuts the highs on the reverb. So I'm not going to go through all the effects in this tutorial, but whatever effect you put in, you adjust the parameters. Again, they're color-coded with the dials. I'm also hoping to make some tutorials on the effects, but for now, just know that that's how you adjust those when you're making the synth patch. And the fourth page, and turn the effect off. The fourth page is your LFO. So to turn the LFO on and off, it's just like the effects. You press 4. So you can see it's turning it on and off. And again, with LFOs, there are many LFOs that you can choose from. Two of the more useful and simple ones I find are tremolo and value. And for the purpose of this, I'm going to show you with value. I'm not going to go through describing what each thing does for every LFO there is. Possibly I'll do a tutorial on LFOs in the future or a series on LFOs in the future. But for this, I'm just going to show you how you adjust your sound. LFO stands for low frequency oscillator. Essentially, an LFO would be an oscillator at a frequency that's inaudible. So what an LFO does is it allows you to modulate part of your sound. So what you're doing essentially is sending a frequency to a parameter, and you're deciding how much it's going to change the parameter and how. You have the blue dial for the speed of your modulation. You've got the green dial for the amount, and it can go positive or negative. So essentially, let's say if you have this at 100, it's going to sweep from 0 to adding 100, so the maximum amount to that parameter. If you have it at minus, it's going to go down on the parameter. So the green one will adjust the green parameter, and then the white one here adjusts your destination in this LFO. And in each LFO, again, they will be color-coded. And the orange knob, or red, I feel like it's orange. But anyway, so you see how now there's a final destination here. Your parameter destination is going to go to the color-coded knob of that page. So you see you've got all the 4 colors of the knobs here. I'll show you here. You can see that I have it set to the blue knob, so it's going to be moving the blue dial. And of course, if I turn that down, it'll do it a little less. And if I send it to a different destination, you can see the effects of that as well. So if I put the LFO to the green one, it's going to be very obvious in this engine. So you can do pretty much all kinds of stuff with this. You can send LFOs to any page of your synthesizer, your effects, your envelope, your synth engine, and you can really do a lot with it there. So now you kind of know what each page does, and if you want to save a patch, all you do is you hold the key that you want to save it to, and now your patch will be saved. And when you save a patch, it saves it as a snapshot. So if you press shift and 1, you can see snapshots, and it's just kind of time stamped. If you want to rename it, you have to go into your computer, mount this as a disk, and deal with it like that. If you want a tutorial on that, on how to use your OP-1 or how to attach your OP-1 to your computer over USB, you probably already know how to do that. But what it really all comes down to is each page you've got color-coded dials to know what to adjust. And in future tutorials, I'm going to show you what each synthesizer patch does. Teenage Engineering has kind of a quick reference guide on their website, but I know that everyone loves to learn in videos, including myself, so I'm going to hopefully help some of you guys out with that. So with that being said, just experiment with the different sounds until you come up with something that you like, because happy accidents are one of the best parts of the OP-1.
Well, I hope this video helped, and I hope I see you in the next one.
If you've already learned how to do it and you don't need to watch the video anymore, feel free to click off. But if you want to watch, I might just mess around for a bit and see what I come up with a patch.